So I just found out that Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 came out June 8th. I had no idea until I went on Twitter and saw some random person saying that it was out and it was great and they liked it. So thank you to random Twitter person for letting me know. Problem is, I'm in Lake George, it's a pretty small town. There's not a whole lot of places to go. I called the comic book store, they don't have it in stock. So I found a Barnes & Noble's about 45 minutes away that does have it in stock. So I'm going to go and get it, come back, read it, and review it. I'll let you know how it is. This elevator door is very, very shiny. I think everyone here thinks I'm crazy because I'm always walking around with a camera and filming myself, but, you know, that's how it goes. Alright, we made it, got the book. Barnes & Noble's has a weird pickup process. Apparently or maybe it's just this one, because I've never heard this before. But apparently if you order over the phone, you pick up at the cash register. If you order online, you pick up at customer service. I'm just confused as to who is actually ordering over the phone. Like, it's not 1994. So I'm very, very confused. But they were helpful enough, and I got the book, and so I'm really excited to check it out. I will report back after I read it. Bye. Alright, we made it. Got Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 in my hands. I have read it, and now I'm going to talk about it. But first, I do just want to bring up the fact that Geoff Johns has been in the news a lot lately for not the best reasons. There's been a lot of allegations against him about various different things. I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you, to have a real meaningful conversation. As far as I know, they're just rumors. There's no concrete details about that he's done anything specific. But I just thought it was worth noting at the top that that is not going to play a factor in my review for this book. I'm going to review it on its own merits, and then just go from there. Alright, well, having said that, this book is written by Geoff Johns, drawn by Gary Frank. I gotta tell you, the art, top to bottom, is absolutely incredible. Frank recently did Doomsday Clock, also with Geoff Johns. I was not a huge fan of that book for a myriad of reasons, but the one thing I did take away from it was that Gary Frank was a huge talent. The artwork was unbelievable and top-notch. The same goes for this book. The art's incredible. They were incredible in the first two volumes, and it continues to be fantastic here. Getting into the story, I will say that Geoff Johns is one of my favorite writers in the DC stable. He has been for a really long time. When I first got into comics, I got in via Brian Michael Bendis' run on Daredevil. My uncle had bought me a copy of one of the issues, and that was just it. I was off to the races. Daredevil became my favorite character, and Bendis became my favorite writer. Full stop, period, the end. The whole time that I was reading it, I was looking for somebody on the DC side that, to me, had the same qualities that Bendis did. Basically a writer who was very talented, very gifted, but also loved the characters and had a strong voice. At the time, I was having a hard time finding someone like that, or finding a book that I could really connect to. I was a huge Batman fan dating back to the animated series. That's like one of my early memories of like getting into superheroes was through that cartoon, because it was obviously a staggering cartoon. It was amazing. It still holds up to this day as one of the best comic book things of all time. Eventually, I found Geoff Johns' run on Teen Titans as they were coming out. I think I started with like issue 6. That run was absolutely incredible. To me, it is the best run on Teen Titans ever, which I know some of you may say is blasphemy because Marv Wolfman was so seminal. His run was so seminal on New Teen Titans. But for my money, for me, Johns' run on Teen Titans is the best, and it's my favorite. Having said that, there are a lot of issues with this book. Starting from the very beginning with a lack of a recap. I found it so bizarre. The last volume came out in 2015. That was 6 years ago. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone a graphic novel that I read 6 years ago. So I immediately opened it, saw there was no recap of any kind, so I had to jump on Wikipedia and, refresh my memory as to what happened in the first 2 volumes. Which is fine, I guess, but I just felt like with the time it took to release this volume, there should have been some kind of a recap to let us know what had happened previously. But, I guess maybe that's an issue for me, but I don't know. They felt like it wasn't necessary. There's a giant twist towards the end, and it's very telegraphed from early on. It was no real surprise to me. So I was kind of just left reading and watching it unfold, which was fine, but none of the plot threads really ever coalesced in a meaningful manner. At the very end of the book, we shoehorn in a lot of characters who it's surprising that were not in the book to begin with. And I just felt like either Johns wanted to, or there was some kind of a mandate to just shove all these other characters in the last 3 pages. It was really weird and felt very heavy-handed. Also, this book ends the entire Earth 1 run. There are other Earth 1 titles, like Wonder Woman and Teen Titans. I read most of them and enjoyed them for the most part. So this is the last one in the entire line, and I thought there'd be some kind of fanfare for the line as a whole, but there's zero. It actually ends kind of on a cliffhanger. Not really a cliffhanger, but it ends with introducing a character that's huge in the book, and you would think would be a star of an upcoming book, but there isn't going to be because this is the last one. And not only does it end this series, it also ends the franchise as a whole. So it just felt odd that there was no fanfare for the line at all. The line was always supposed to be DC's answer to the Ultimates. So it's a more grounded, realistic version of the DC characters, which is great, and it's fun. But it didn't really sell that well, from what I understand, and so DC decided to cancel it, and this was going to be the swan song for the whole line. So it's just odd to me that it ends in such a manner of introducing characters that would play a significant role, in a book 4 if there was one. So it leads me to wonder if Johns and Frank knew that there wasn't going to be a volume 4 when they were conceptualizing this. Overall, I think it's worth a read if you've read the first 2 volumes. If you haven't, I don't necessarily know that you have to run out and buy all 3. It doesn't really go anywhere very meaningful, and the ending isn't anything spectacular. On its own, I'd say the book is probably between a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for me. It doesn't do any one particular thing right. I'd probably even grade it a little bit lower if it wasn't that the art was so spectacular. It really is almost worth the price of admission to get to see Gary Frank's incredible work. So yeah, if you're a fan of Earth 1 Batman, or a fan of Earth 1 in general, I definitely do think it's cool to check out. It's definitely a relic from, the mid-2000s or 2010s, I guess, that isn't around anymore and isn't going to be around going forward. So it's cool to have one last book to put up on the shelf. So that's going to be it from me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like or a comment, and I'll see you next time.